They have no place to store the radioactive waste that these plants are going to produce. So right now, there's a lot of drawbacks, and it's expensive to even, I think it costs about $2 billion a year just to monitor the waste in these plants that we have now.
It is kind of mind-blowing. 28 new nuclear power plants. Where is all this waste supposed to go? And why the rush to get into nuclear power? And what communities are supposed to make the sacrifice for this type of behavior? It's the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas, back after this with Rosalind Peterson, Infowars.com, and PrisonPlanet.tv. We are back. It's the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas, joined by CaliforniaSkywatch.com's own Rosalind Peterson. And Rosalind, one of the things that really interests me about this whole subject matter is its connection to NASA. Can we talk about that for a moment?
You mean the jets?
Not the cap and trade stuff, but
okay.
Just the geoengineering topic in general.
Well, NASA and the U.S. Air Force have really joined together for a lot of projects. So NASA has become militarized, especially for many of the satellites that go up, and many of its projects are more and more becoming military projects. So what happens here is that they have moved together in order to do a lot of these atmospheric heating and testing programs. They've moved together to do a lot of projects, warfare projects, in conjunction with militarized satellites, those kind of projects. So NASA is becoming less and less of an agency that's just for public and space exploration, although that's a large part of what they do. But they're becoming more and more part of as a handmaiden for the military projects. And so there's extra military money that goes into the funding for NASA now because of this connection between the two of them.
And what kind of documentation have you gotten that provides this information?
Well, if you go look at the CRES program, CRRES program, if you look at some of the documents on my website, if you go to agriculturedefensecoalition.org, look in the search engine, you can type in CRRES and come up with a whole lot of projects that are joint NASA and U.S. Air Force projects. And you begin to see NASA involved in militarized satellites and things like that. So less and less are they just, in other words, a public agency which had a different mission. I think their mission has really changed.
Well, why do you think it's changed so much? I mean, obviously, NASA was out there, they're putting us on the moon, it's the space program, even the Challenger in the 80s was hugely promoted, and then they kind of fell into the background. And it seems to me as they fell into the background, they're more apt to take on these kind of projects that the public knows very little about. Well, yes, and see, they're involved in spy satellites, and there's a lot of talking about using space-based weapon systems. So as NASA becomes more involved with the military, then they get into these types of projects as part of a military project, and the funding goes to NASA, and then it goes off to military projects as well, or they fund research in those areas for the military. So you have to kind of track what NASA's doing and associate it somewhat with the military. And I think part of the being on the moon and other things is part of our usage, going to be our usage usage of space for warfare weapons. I think that's the next thing that's going to come. It does seem like this is going to be, weaponized. It's what the military does. I kind of want to get your take on Bill Gates announcing that he had these machines that could knock out hurricanes, and he's intending to put them, I think it's over on the Pacific coast, and that he wants to tax the residents for him, basically stopping bad weather. I didn't know about the West Coast. You mean maybe it's not Pacific. I forget which ocean it's in. I can't remember. Well, there was some talk about the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic, and he was going to put these machines out so that they could churn up the water and cool it down. In other words, bring up cooler water and then have it replace the warmer surface water when a hurricane was on its way. And it was talking about modifying hurricanes. I do know about that project. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. And that was some patents about that, but that was for controlling and redirecting or stopping hurricanes. However, we do know from looking at
different government agencies that we believe that some of the force of the hurricanes are good for ocean systems. And we also know that hurricanes are not always bad because sometimes the weather fronts don't turn into hurricanes. They turn into rainfall for some of the states, and they kind of stabilize the weather in some ways so that you have natural patterns going around the world.
Rosalind Peterson is our guest. CaliforniaSkywatch.com is the website. I'm Jason Bermas. It's the Infowarrior. PrisonPlanet.tv. Infowars.com. All right, folks, we are back. It's the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas. 6 to 9 Central Time every Sunday following the Alex Jones Show on KLBJ. And we're going to be returning to weeknights after Invisible Empire is done. I've been working very, very hard on that film. I just can't even tell you how much time I've dedicated to it. It's pretty much every waking hour outside of the once a week I'm doing this, or I'm helping with the second Obama film. Just so much to do, and really the offices are filling up. You probably saw the video posted earlier in the week where we showed you the new addition to the command center, Alex and myself, and really showing you the floor plans of a gutted studio. We're going to go to James in Massachusetts in just a moment for Rosalind Peterson. We are streaming live right now, 888-201-2244.